Hello and welcome to the Good Old Days, our program focusing on the history of Raynham. We talk about the history of everything that happened in the past and today's current events, which will be tomorrow's history. I'm Pat Riley, and our host is retired Selectman Don McKinnon.
These are the good old days
These
with
are
Dr.
the good
Forbes.
old days. Our special guest is our Superintendent of the Bridgewater Raynham Regional School District, Dr. Jacqueline Forbes. Welcome, Dr. Forbes.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. And yes, these are the good old days.
They are.
We have a lot of good to report that's going on in the Bridgewater Raynham Regional School District.
I have to tell you, Don, sitting, even as a member of the school committee, we went to the Bridgewater Council meeting recently, and Dr. Forbes went over all of the great things going on at the district, and even I was impressed.
Ah,
Imagine that.
she doesn't take notes. She does have semi-total recall.
When you put everything together, it was really impressive.
Well, there are so many good things going on that I had to create a template to work off of, because it's almost not humanly possible to remember all of
That's
the
what I
wonderful
mean.
things that we've been doing.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
And I've been very, very fortunate to have been here 7 years as the superintendent, working for different school committees, and they've each been wonderful, and they've allowed us to improve the district tremendously. And it's been a pleasure to work with Pat Riley as the chair of the school committee. Under her leadership, we have accomplished many, many things. And when the time is right, I have a template that I'd like to share with you folks.
The time is right.
Okay, then I am going to jump right into that. These are, I believe Pat has a copy of that, but I wanted
do.
you to have that, Dawn, because you've been here in Raynham a long, long time, and you've seen our district. And yes, it's a lot of bubbles. Please don't think I'm a bubblehead or a bobblehead.
Oh, we never say that.
But I have to have something to work off of.
Wow.
And what I'd like to do is, this is called...
Do you number them, Superintendent? or
No,
just-
I didn't. I didn't number them. I just have them going in a circle. So what I'd like to do is start at the top and go clockwise and talk about how Bridgewater Raynham Regional School District excels. And we do. And I'd like to start by saying that at the very tip top, where 12 o'clock would be, our bond rating has improved from an A2 to an A1.
Oh.
And anyone in finance knows that that bond rating impacts the amount that is charged to the town or to the district regarding any borrowing, any mortgages that we would have to have for our roofs, for our facilities improvement. And so by going to an A1 rating, that is saving the taxpayers here in Raynham and Bridgewater a lot of money. And we've seen that.
In the hundreds of thousands.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you know, people say, well, yeah, $5. No, hundreds of thousands.
Correct. And we've been able to accomplish that by putting aside a little bit of money, about $10,000 a year. And I remember working with the Board of Selectmen in Raynham and the town councilors in Bridgewater to get an approval to be able to do that. And I believe we set aside about $10,000 a year, similar to what the municipalities do with their free cash.
I've always been in favor of that. I call it the cookie jar. Always put it in the cookie jar.
Right, and we need to do that because you just never know what's going to come up in the future. And the other reason we've improved our bond rating is because we are addressing our OPEB liability. So we're putting monies aside so that we'll be able to address the liabilities that as a regional district we have incurred. We employ over 575 folks, and so we need to be able to start building our reserves to be able to address those liabilities. And because of those two actions, our bond rating did improve. And as a member of the Board of Selectmen, you know how important that is to address those governmental liabilities that we have. I'd also like to just state right off the bat, if you look underneath that, our graduation rate in BR is 98.8%, I should have rounded that bubble up to 99%, but I wanted to leave a little bit
Was
of,
it over .5?
yes, it was .8.
And therefore, round
I
it up.
should have.
By all
I'll
accounting
round that
days.
up so that
Oh, yes.
people know it's 99%.
Yes, definitely.
And you're probably wondering, well, how do you achieve that, Dr. Forbes? Because it's hard. It's a lot of hard work and dedicated effort on the part of families and kids to graduate. And one of the reasons is because we have an evening school. We have a night school called Excel. It's an alternative school so that students who aren't successful in the day program are able to have a second chance. And so we're very pleased that
Do
we
they
have that.
stay in the evening program, or do they transfer back into the day, or do they
Well,
and do they graduate from the evening program?
They graduate from the evening program, and we have 2 commencements a year. And we have one in January and one in June, and they get a diploma. And that's really, really important.
Very important.
Without a diploma,
No college.
no college, it's very hard to have a decent career that is going to allow people to pay for a family and live at a decent
Statistically, that's correct.
and live at a decent standard of living. So
One of our guidance counselors, Bill Barber, who, Dawn, you
Sure,
will
I've known
recall
Bill
because
forever.
Bill was originally from Raynham, is the director of that program,
Wow.
and he does a great job.
Is there
Yes.
a percentage?
pardon?
Is there a percentage that's in the evening school, like a 2%, 5%, 12%? Or
It's
do we know?
probably less than 1%.
Oh, it's real-
It's very,
yeah.
very small. I believe we graduated 44 students, or no, I'm sorry. I think it was 34 students in
Now,
January.
doctor, if they drop out of the evening school, does that count towards a dropout in your percentage?
I believe it does.
Okay.
And so we look at that very carefully. And Mr. Barber leads with his heart with these kids. We give not just a second chance, but a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th chance. We want our children to exceed and to get a diploma. And we've been very fortunate that everyone who has been in the program, who has graduated, has passed the MCAS on the first try. So
that's
we're
right, yeah.
very, very pleased
Yeah,
with
that's
the
very
quality
good.
of that
Yeah,
program.
that's very good.
So a lot of districts don't have an evening program, and that's where we excel.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of students from Brockton, Taunton, Middleborough transfer into our night school, so we're very pleased with that.
That is very nice.
Something else I'm very proud of is that our college acceptance rate is 89%. Now, 89 is great, but I'd like it to be in the 90s, so we're going to work a little harder on that. But we do have students who go on to the military and to careers. But 89% attend 4 and 2-year
Is that
schools.
89% including the 2-year school?
Yes, both the 4-year and the 2-year.
Right.
But many of them do go on to some of the top colleges and universities in the
I
country.
love the 2-year college because it's economical, and often they transfer into a 4-year and then get a 4-year degree, and that's fine. It's great.
And we love our local colleges, BCC,
Oh, yeah.
Massasoit Community College. And one other thing, we have the largest dual enrollment in the Commonwealth with our local colleges. The university, Bridgewater State University, and with our 2-year schools. And we're very pleased that we hold that distinction in Massachusetts. So we do have the largest dual enrollment program.
Is that right? You do? Yeah.
Yep, I put it on here and it's true, Dawn.
And that's an opportunity too for some of our really great students to go further.
And I don't know where it is on this. I should have numbered them. That's a good idea. We'll have to do that so it's easy to find. But somewhere on this, it talks about our dual enrollment is the largest in the state. We've got a lot of really good things happening. We have national and state recognized principals. You know, Mr. Thompson here at Raynham Middle School was recognized. We also have Mr. Lynch in Bridgewater, an elementary principal who had both national and state recognition. We have a high school that is accredited, and we had a wonderful report, and we'll be presenting our progress report on how far we've come on their recommendations. We'll be doing that, I believe, at our March school committee meeting. We also have updated computer labs in all the schools. I believe we have over 20, and they are fully furnished with state-of-the-art equipment. Every classroom in the district either has a projection system or an interactive whiteboard. And that's true here in Raynham and all of our schools, and also in Bridgewater. That was one of the high priorities of our school committee, to make sure that our children were technologically literate and competitive. We've done that. The other priority of the school committee has been reducing class size. And I'm here
I'm very, very important.
very, very pleased to announce that our average class size in all schools is from the low 20s to the mid 20s. So I believe we have a kindergarten that's 18 or 19 up through 25 at the middle and high school level. So we've met that goal, and we hope to sustain it.
Very important.
Very important. And the research is very clear that we have to keep the class size smallest at the elementary level. It does have the greatest impact there, but certainly there are other benefits at the secondary level in terms of the amount of direct instruction a teacher can give to a child, as you know, having been an educator for your career.
Well, I've always believed grades, I'd say 1 through 6 or 7, and that's pretty much the base. And then after that, there's people like me. And then they either catch it or they don't,
Well, thank goodness for people like you. Those were the good old days, and these are the good old days, and we're trying to do the right thing by our children.
And when you first started, Dr. Forbes, and we had gone through a period of, a really difficult period with some layoffs, we had class sizes that were in the high 20s, even some in the 30s. So it's been
I remember that.
I remember that time.
At one of our elementary schools, we had 10 third-grade classes with 30 children in them. And that was really difficult. And
I thought that affected the high school.
Oh, it does.
People will then go over to one of the East or West Bridgewater, wherever it is, or Taunton High or Coyle.
It impacted the quality of instruction, in that it's hard to manage 30 little ones, especially if you're trying to teach them writing or reading or mathematics. You just don't have enough hands and enough hours in the day to give the children the instruction that they need. And then when parents see that, large class sizes like that, they're apt to leave the district and look for a smaller class size in an East Bridgewater or a West Bridgewater and or a Middleborough, and we certainly don't want that to happen. We want to educate our children here in Bridgewater and Raynham in the best conditions that we can offer them. So we're very pleased, and the school committee has not wavered from that focus. It's been laser-like. Keep class sizes small, and we're there. So I'm very pleased with that. We also have a wonderful instructional program. It's become academically very rigorous. Our high school was named to the AP Honor Roll for increasing student participation rate by 38%. We also increased our AP course offerings. We have over 10 offerings, and I believe our principal is going to ask for an additional AP offering. So we have AP Calculus, AP Chemistry, AP History. We've got a lot of advanced placement courses, and that tells us that our program is becoming very rigorous, and also our passage rate is very high. When the students take that AP exam, they're passing it. We recognized one teacher this year for 100% of his students passing the AP examination. So we're very, very proud of that. Our district has what we call a pre-K-12 instructional framework that's been developed locally. Now, you know about the Common Core and the controversy around Common Core and standards and Big Brother telling us what to do. And I just want to assure you and everybody else, yes, we have standards. There are Common Core standards that are rigorous, they're academically rigorous, and they also have process standards. And we look at those and we incorporate them. But we look at the Common Core standards as a baseline, not the ceiling. And we look at possibly 80% of our curriculum based on the Massachusetts state frameworks and the Common Core state standards. But that gives us an additional 20% where we have our own curriculum. For instance, in the 3rd grade, we teach Raynham history. So we localize our curriculum, and certainly we pay attention to what the standards are, the national and state standards, but we also have our own. And that's so important here in New England to have local control. I believe we had a Revolutionary War a while back, a few years. You remember that one, Don? Raynham was settled before that.
I was too young to go, though. I want you to know that.
Oh, you didn't serve?
Well, my older brother did.
Yeah,
But I
and I
didn't.
know that was about taxation
Yeah.
without representation. It was also about local control. And so, you know, that remains strong with us. And I don't want anyone out there to think that we're going to succumb to any standard that doesn't make sense and doesn't help our children learn. And yes, we will continue to work on reading, writing, and arithmetic, and we will take it to high standards, high levels, and yes, we're going to look for precision and accuracy, no matter what you hear out there in the media. We have very smart people sitting on the school committee, on our also in the towns, and they're very
It's difficult
involved.
nowadays, isn't it, to get, Pat knows this better than most people, to get people to run for the school
Oh my
committee,
gosh.
to get
Well,
candidates.
We need people. I think that it's a great
No,
opportunity.
the people we have,
They're
I can say
wonderful.
are fine, but you got to dig in the trenches. Once in a while, you got to write somebody's name in.
Well,
And now Louis running Fall River, so we can't.
Have to go and pull somebody to
draft him
volunteer.
well, now it's nice to know we have a friend down there in that city.
You do have a friend.
I would also like to say that we've got a great professional development program that's research-based. Mr. Swenson, the assistant superintendent, is in charge of that, of professional development, and we are a good team. I go out and find out what I think we need to do. You know, I'm the pioneer and says, here's the vision, here's where we need to go. Now, I turn that over to Mr. Swenson and say, okay, what do our teachers need to know? What trainings do they need in order to achieve this goal that we've established with the school committee? And he's done a fine job. We've brought in programs like a ST Math, Spatial Temporal Math program. The kids know it as Gigi, and it has really helped us improve our mathematical conceptual understanding, not only for the students, but also for the teachers and parents. And so we have mandated that every elementary student have 90 minutes of this supplemental math program, and they work on it at home as well as in school. And over the past 3 years, our total district math scores have increased 10%. That is statistically significant and something we are very proud of. We've brought in new math textbooks. We've had a lot of professional development in how to teach mathematics, and we've put in that supplemental program. And I have to thank the taxpayers for supporting our budget and the Board of Selectmen here in Raynham, as well as the school committee, because you folks are the ones who have made it happen. We couldn't do it without the support of our communities. And that is just one area where we're starting to see tremendous growth. 7% is statistically significant, but when we have had 10% on our the mathematics scores on the MCAS in 3 years, we are trending in the right direction. Now, we're concerned about our ELA scores because they've kind of stagnated, but that's the case in the Commonwealth. So we're going to look to see what digital pathways and programs can we put in to supplement and help differentiate instruction for our children. And I've been working on that, and we have something in mind, but I can't break it on this news show. I have to wait and run it
This is
past
where
the
it has
school
to
committee
happen.
first.
This is where it has to happen.
But we've been very innovative, and the school committee has supported our initiatives, and so we're looking at that. And we're improving our writing program. We've put empowered writers in place, and we're doing that kindergarten up through the high school so that it's a clearly articulated common writing program. Because one of the concerns we heard from our constituents was that our writing wasn't good enough. Well, by golly, we're addressing that, and we hope to see our writing scores improve in the near future. So we're taking care of the basics.
When you say writing, do you mean grammatically? Do you mean you can't read their writing?
Well, I mean being able to compose
Okay.
an essay,
Okay.
and it has to have correct grammar.
Because I don't know if anyone writes so you can read anymore.
Well,
But
we
and that's, I understand the times have changed.
well, we believe very strongly that
Teach penmanship.
yes,
don't
we
teach
do.
penmanship,
Yeah,
yes,
a
Dr.
lot of
Forbes
states, yes,
insists.
a lot of states don't
Well, that's
have
important, yeah.
penmanship. We have mandatory penmanship. Kindergarten through 4th grade. Now, some people might say that I'm old-fashioned, but there's so much more to handwriting, to penmanship, than just being able to print or do cursive. It's about motor planning. It's about neurological development. There are so many other benefits to handwriting, so we believe, I do, and so does the school committee, that you have to teach this. Because what happens if your iPad or your laptop breaks? You still have to be able to write. And I think that it is an important skill. And we teach it 3 times a week for 15 minutes. And the teachers make sure that the children
Have you got
use...
teachers that can write?
Oh, yes. They've had the training.
Only kidding. But no, I'm talking about, these kids are so programmed to computers now.
Well, it's
I wonder whether even the teachers are of another generation than mine that know how to write.
Well, we're baby boomers.
Because I don't know computers, but they don't know how to write.
And I've got millennials
Yeah.
teaching,
Yeah.
And Generation Xers, but the thing is, we've had professional development. We use the Zahner-Bloser manuscript and cursive handwriting method, and it is very, very important. Something else with handwriting. We have to write for the MCAS. The children have to write in a test booklet. We know that legibility, letter formation, and slant, if they are able to write so that people can read it and it's very legible, they will score much better than if it's a sloppy mess that people can't read. So again, that's going to help folks. And I do not believe that handwriting is ever going to leave the human race. We're still going to need it because when the electricity goes out, when the Wi-Fi is turned off, what are you going to do? You have to be able to handwrite.
I'll give you one that I think, and I taught it for so many years, that's why I'm biased, but I watched the way kids are able to manage their money nowadays. And I taught for many years a course called Consumer Education. Do you
Very
have that at all?
valuable course. We have something similar in our business department. It's not called that, but the elements of financial literacy, consumer education, those units are taught in our programs.
Because I see these kids, and I'm talking your academics, that God bless them, they may not be in the business department, that's another story. But I see them, and they're brilliant, and they can all do it, but they can't manage their own budget. So they end up getting in debt for 30 years for college, and it's sad that they don't know how to manage. Credit cards, they treat it like they have no idea about it.
Well, we are addressing that more than just in the business department. We're also looking at that in our mathematics department, and we do have units on that. It's very important that our kids know how to balance a checkbook and what are the pitfalls of credit. And so we are looking at that, and I know that our course offerings, we've had financial literacy. It was taught last year. We were doing that with college coming in and assisting us. And
one thing Dr. Forbes has been able to do is work really closely with Bridgewater State University, which is a resource that
Which is really,
in
we're
the
very
past
fortunate
hadn't
to have
taken
that
as
school.
much advantage of.
Yeah.
But we have actually some courses that are being taught, so it's really, really a great partnership.
And financial literacy is one of them. The other newest program we're doing with Bridgewater State University is our special education program where our children ages 18 to 22 are going over to the college for a career program, and they're working on the campus, and so that's a wonderful program.
Now, 18 to 22, are they over there without paying tuition?
Oh yes, it's part of our program. And so they're not necessarily receiving college credits, but it's part of our program until the students reach age 22. And again, it's similar to a
Well,
dual
that's kind
enrollment.
of a law, but I wonder, do we have many students in that category?
Yes.
2022?
And so we've been able
I know
to,
I had a cousin that played till he was 22, but that's another story.
for another time.
That's for another show. He did get 3 touchdowns. For touchdowns.
Well, I can't get distracted from this template. I have to go back to it
No, but we've
because
got
we could
Pat.
be here for an
may
hour.
have
Pat's
to-
gonna
I
bail
think
us
we're
out. We'll
going
have
to
to have the
have
doctor
a
back
second
because
show,
we
right?
know enough. We don't know about the doctor.
I'd like to share with you about the donations to the district. Now, I have to look at this. Let me get it so I can see this.
It's amazing.
Since 2011, over here where I guess number 7 on the clock would be, or 8, since 2011, the district, the school committee has accepted $251,770 worth of donations.
Wow.
That's amazing. That tells me that we have wonderfully supportive communities, and we have really benefited from the generosity of local individuals and companies. And
that doesn't even include, Dr. Forbes, the donations and the contributions that come from like the parents groups and groups like
Oh, no.
RAVE and those sorts of things, which also contribute to a great extent.
we couldn't ask for better support from RAVE and our parent groups. They supplement the school district financially in ways that we just, we could never repay. And
No,
we
we're very
appreciate.
fortunate. Very
Yes,
fortunate.
we are. I also wanted to say that we get over $2 million in grant funding. So we have a lot of grants that we work on. And something else, we're very pleased that we've been able to put in place a free full-day kindergarten. That was a major initiative of last year.
That was a
and
concern of mine because, it was almost like if you had money, you can go. Well, yeah, but in the meantime, how about the kids who lose that?
who didn't have the opportunity.
And they come in the next year and those kids have had it and they haven't. And
Well, we put safeguards in place. We structured it so that whether you were in half-day or full-day, kindergarten plus,
Yeah.
you didn't receive additional academics. You received enrichment opportunities. But in a public school setting, we want to provide equitably for all. And so now we're able to do that. And we're very pleased with that program.
I'll give you something which is a concern to those who kind of think to the future, which you do, of course, but I'm wondering, have you done, well, the average family has 1.8 or 1.6, which is difficult to have 1.6 babies, but the average family has that. And now we have in Bridgewater what I consider the largest single apartment complex coming in the history of the town of Bridgewater. And Bridgewater has a lot of apartments. This makes them all look small. It's on the Raynham-Bridgewater line. And I'm not sure how many units they have. I'd guess if I gave it a shot. Has there been any input as to how that will impact? I'm going to tell you something. I'm just going to shoot it out because I tend to do that. I think they may put enough children so it'll call for another school to be built. That's without knowing what's going on in the other schools. But I just look and I say, if that came into Raynham, which we had our hit, by the way, but we managed. Now, maybe Bridgewater can, but I'm looking, I'm saying, I got a feeling there's going to be another school built in the town of Bridgewater.
Well, now, Mr. McKinnon, I don't want you scaring my constituents in Bridgewater.
You don't send this show to Bridgewater. It's got my name on it.
Well, I don't think we're going to have to build another school.
Thank you.
From what I
I
understand.
don't care. But this is my tax
Right.
dollar.
From what I understand is
Yeah.
there are units that will probably have students in them.
Yeah.
We have, well, when you look at the income range and the rental range and the purchasing price and things like that, we think there will be an impact of about 70 to 100 children or less. And
We've
we
had
can
some-
accommodate
We have
that.
had some decrease in enrollment, so that might balance that out
Yes.
to some extent.
According to our NESDEC calculations, over the the next 5 years, we're looking at a lowered birth rate, and the impact on the district would be the loss of about 600 students. So
Wow.
I'm looking at that development as a positive.
You got to come back, Doctor, because I think we're just
Yeah,
about.
we're just about, we are out of time, so we're definitely going to have to part 2, Dr. Forbes.
Okay.
Part 2,
wanna-
I'll be
Doctor.
happy
Part
to come
2.
back.
All right, thank you very much. We want to thank all of you for being with us as well. Since we are out of time, we'll see you on our next episode of The Good Old Days.
And we'll have to look at these bubbles. Oh, my goodness.
Thank you. Yeah, you'll be studying
You had
those.
this rigged, so Pat didn't have a chance to ask about what school you went to and all. That's yours, right, Pat?
I know.
Oh,
You're
next time they're
past
going to
that.
say, "Who is that superintendent?"
Yeah, well, that.
So
we'll
much
come
to
back
get.